aircraft carrier.
With aircraft carriers. Aircraft carrier.
To aircraft carriers.
To aircraft carrier.
The aircraft carrier.
Aircraft carriers.
Aircraft carrier.
In the twilight of a crumbling empire, the malevolent shadow of a colossal vessel arises, signifying the impending doom of the once great Soviet Union. Spawned in the turbulent 1980s, the Admiral Kuznetsov looms as a symbol of the vanishing nation's relentless pursuit of maritime dominance. Yet, with Ukraine's newly minted independence in the early 1990s, the fate of this behemoth hangs in the balance, ensnared in a web of political chaos and unbridled military aspirations. Despite its capacity to accommodate aircraft, the Admiral Kuznetsov was designated as a heavy aircraft cruiser, meticulously designed to shield missile-equipped surface ships, submarines, and aircraft from impending danger. The disintegration of the Soviet Union, however, severely impeded its construction, compelling the behemoth to traverse thousands of nautical miles in a woefully incomplete state. Following the cataclysmic nuclear exchange, preserving the flagship in immaculate condition became an insurmountable task for the Soviets. Nevertheless, the precarious government remained unwavering in its resolution to wrest control of the vessel from the Ukrainians. In Russia, the imposing Admiral Kuznetsov was never erroneously regarded as a bona fide aircraft carrier. Rather, this Leviathan was acknowledged as a heavy aircraft cruiser. Conceived in response to the Soviet Navy's zealous ambition to amplify its worldwide influence during the 1960s. The ensuing years bore witness to a litany of ill-fated ventures, and by 1973, Soviet military strategists contemplated the construction of a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier capable of accommodating 60 to 70 aircraft. Alas, the Soviet Union opted to pursue only two relatively inconspicuous projects. Project 1143.5 aspired to forge a nuclear-powered behemoth equipped with two catapults and a formidable squadron of enhanced Su-27KM and Yak-44 AEW/ASW fixed-wing aircraft. As the culmination of decades of strategic blunders and misguided ambitions, the Admiral Kuznetsov emerged as a grim reminder of the Soviet Union's desperate, yet ultimately futile attempts to retain its waning grip on global power. The vessel's uncertain fate mirrored the turbulent political climate that engulfed the region, while its monstrous form loomed as a testament to the enduring legacy of a once mighty empire, now consigned to the annals of history. As the world watched the Soviet Union crumble and the last vestiges of its naval supremacy fade away, the Admiral Kuznetsov stood as a haunting symbol of a bygone era, forever marred by the shadow of its own tragic ambition. In stark contrast to Western assumptions, the 60,000-ton behemoth relied on oil-fueled boilers instead of a cutting-edge nuclear/steam propulsion system. While strikingly resembling an aircraft carrier, the formidable vessel was engineered to aid missile submarines in the Arctic's heavily fortified regions. The keel for Riga was laid in 1983, and the daunting ship first entered service in 1985. After undergoing multiple name alterations, it finally adopted the moniker Admiral Kuznetsov. Flight tests were initiated by 1989, with an impressive 71% of the ship assembled. To circumvent the restrictions of the Turkish Straits, however, the vessel needed to be rebranded as a cruiser with aircraft carrying capabilities. Constructed in Ukraine, the Admiral Kuznetsov risked becoming a prisoner of the Black Sea, unable to gain entry to the Mediterranean without explicit permission. As the ship loomed over the cold, dark waters, the foreboding atmosphere served as a harbinger of more sinister events to come. The Admiral Kuznetsov was born out of desperation, conceived in the dying days of an empire struggling to hold on to its diminishing power. Every inch of the colossal vessel whispered tales of despair, ambition, failed dreams, echoing the turmoil that had engulfed the Soviet Union. The construction of this menacing Leviathan was fraught with setbacks and delays. The Admiral Kuznetsov was a labyrinth of corridors and chambers that had been meticulously designed to serve a specific purpose, only to be left unfinished, incomplete, and abandoned in the face of mounting obstacles. As the Soviet Union's influence waned, so too did the fate of the once great ship. It became a hulking, desolate monument to a bygone era, and a chilling reminder of the price of ambition. Yet, despite its dark past and uncertain future, the Admiral Kuznetsov remained an object of fascination for military strategists and historians alike. Its imposing silhouette on the horizon was a testament to human ingenuity, and a grim reminder of the destructive power that lay dormant within its steel frame. In a world where tensions ran high and old rivalries threatened to boil over, the ship was a stark warning of the devastation that could be unleashed if humanity failed to learn from its previous mistakes. As the vessel continued languishing in the Black Sea's murky waters, it became an eerie symbol of the Soviet Union's descent into oblivion. The once mighty empire was reduced to a collection of fractured, warring states, each vying for power and control over the resources that once fueled their collective ambitions. The Admiral Kuznetsov, trapped and abandoned, was a fitting metaphor for a world that had lost its way. The fate of the Admiral Kuznetsov would be determined by the same forces that had shaped its creation: ambition, greed, and the unquenchable thirst for power. As the world watched with bated breath, the vessel would either serve as a cautionary tale of the dangers of unchecked ambition, or as a rallying cry for those who refused to be shackled by the constraints of the past. And in the darkness of the Black Sea, the ship waited, its true purpose yet to be revealed. In 1991, proclamation of Ukraine's independence from the Soviet Union sparked a fierce conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Tensions escalated with the Black Sea Fleet, numerous officers siding with Russia. Ukrainian President Leonid Kravchuk instructed Admiral Kuznetsov's captain, Viktor Uragan, to claim the ship for Ukraine in the aftermath of the failed August coup of 1991. Moored in Sebastopol, the vessel remained in limbo, waiting for the Ukrainian government's verdict. Still, the Soviets were unwavering in their pursuit of a formidable ship. Captain Uragan harbored doubts about keeping the vessel in Ukrainian waters, questioning Ukraine's legitimacy as a nation due to the absence of special referendum. As the political storm raged on, the Admiral Kuznetsov's fate became even more uncertain. The ship, now a pawn in the bitter feud between Russia and Ukraine, served as a chilling reminder of the darker side of human ambition. The power struggle for control over the colossal vessel represented the unrelenting quest for dominance that had driven the Soviet Union to the brink of destruction. And yet, despite the darkness that surrounded its creation and the turmoil that now engulfed its future, the ship continued to stand as a symbol of resilience in the face of adversity. As the weeks turned into months, the stalemate between Russia and Ukraine showed no signs of resolution. The once mighty Admiral Kuznetsov, now a weathered and battle-scarred ghost of its former self, languished in the icy waters of the Black Sea. Its once gleaming hull now bore the marks of countless skirmishes, a testament to the relentless struggle for control that had consumed the lives of so many brave sailors. In the midst of the chaos, the ship's crew faced an uncertain future. Morale waned and tensions simmered as they awaited on word of the fate of their beloved vessel. And as the deadlock between Russia and Ukraine continued, the crew's loyalty to their respective nations began to waver. Whispers of mutiny began to spread like wildfire, fanned by the flames of resentment and bitterness that had been festering for months. It was then that a sinister plan began to take shape. A group of rogue sailors, disillusioned with the endless power struggle and eager to reclaim their former glory, hatched a plot to seize control of the Admiral Kuznetsov and turn it against their enemies. The darkness that had long haunted the ship threatened to consume its very soul. As the specter of treachery loomed large over the once proud vessel, the world watched in horror, and the ship's crew became embroiled in a bloody and brutal conflict. Friendships were shattered, and alliances were forged and broken again and again in the blink of an eye. The once united crew now found themselves divided, pitted against one another in a desperate battle for survival. The Admiral Kuznetsov would serve as a stark warning to the future generations of the devastating consequences of unchecked ambition and the insatiable thirst for power. Its dark legacy would be a chilling reminder of the price that must be paid when humanity succumbs to its darkest of instincts. As the battle for control raged on, the vessel stood as a grim testament to the destructive power of human greed and the tragic cost of a world that had lost its way. Yuri Ustomenko, a deputy commander of the Northern Fleet, fled south from the Arctic in an effort to evade the Ukrainian government. The Northern Fleet demanded the counterfeit aircraft carrier leave the Black Sea on December 1st, the day of the independence elections. Admiral Kuznetsov abandoned 2/3 of its crew in Murmansk and set sail with the remaining third. Despite the lengthy journey to a suitable port for maintenance, she emerged as the Russian Navy's most renowned ship. Admiral Kuznetsov modeled his cruisers after Tavkir ships, or wholly avionistrry-heavy aircraft-carrying cruisers, to protect strategic missile-carrying submarines, surface ships, and naval missile-carrying aircraft from enemy ASW aircraft. This marked a significant departure from the role of U.S. carriers. Consequently, Kuznetsov could eliminate adversaries on land and in the air. The ship's ski jump at the bow was angled at 12 degrees, and its 14,700 square meter flight deck was optimal for aircraft takeoff. Lacking catapults, the air wing couldn't maintain air superiority or launch planes equipped for heavy strikes. Conventional carriers required fixed-wing aircraft to take off at an angle, necessitating afterburners and acceleration towards the ski jump. However, catapults enabled vertical takeoff. Pilots' bodies tolerated the lower acceleration of a ski jump better than the higher acceleration of supersonic speeds. Nonetheless, the aircraft's clearance speeds shouldn't exceed 120 to 140 kilometers per hour. 2 starboard lifts and arresting wires transported planes directly from the hangar to the flight deck. Initially, the Yak-43 was intended for the ship, but the Su-33 MiG-29K and the Su-25 UTH became the most popular supersonic STOVL fighters. The Su-25 UTH never carried real weapons and was only used for training purposes. The cruiser's K-31 helicopters capably fulfilled the airborne early warning aircraft role. However, the ship lacked electronic warfare and defense suppression aircraft, both common on American carriers. In addition to air superiority, fleet defense, and air support missions, Admiral Kuznetsov could provide direct fire support for amphibious assaults, reconnaissance, and naval mine placement. The Kuznetsov's 12 P-700 Granite cruise missiles, a type of long-range surface-to-surface anti-ship missiles, were intriguing in their own right. The cruiser didn't make its first deployment to the Mediterranean as the Russian Navy's flagship until late 1995, early 1996, after receiving its air wing in 1993. A major overhaul took place at the turn of the century, finishing in 1998. The capital ship's deployment was postponed due to its involvement in rescue operations following the explosion of Kursk submarine in 2000. The Su-33 that crashed in the Atlantic in September 2005 was refurbished to rectify technical issues and returned to service in 2006. Russian Navy officials later stated that the cruiser's decision to bring a squadron to Tartus for the new millennium shouldn't be seen as a gesture towards what's going on in Syria. Reluctantly joining the Syrian campaign in 2016, the ship was accompanied by a tugboat in case of engine failure. The ship could carry 8 Su-33 fighters, 4 MiG-29KR KUVR multi-role aircraft, 6 Ka-52K Katron navalized attack helicopters, 2 Ka-31R Helix AEW and C helicopters, and 1 MKA-27PS Helix D search and rescue helicopter. Numerous analysts and industry experts reported that a shortage of qualified pilots were cited as the primary reason for the lack of fixed-wing aircraft. In November that year, an MiG-29K crashed into the water during takeoff. In its first combat mission, the flagship swiftly enabled its position in a massive operation against Islamic State and al-Nusra in Syria, executing several fighter strikes. Another Su-33 was lost in December when arresting cables snapped. This so-called carrier's fleet was housed in a land-based aerial facility to ensure uninterrupted military operations. Concerns regarding the ship's new combat potential were raised due to its propulsion system. The Russian Navy struggled to maintain the single carrier in good condition, with no plans to build a replacement in the foreseeable future. Upgrades and repairs to the Kuznetsov were underway to ensure her continued usefulness for years to come. For instance, all the ship's boilers were replaced. Although service was expected to resume in 2021, it became real evident real quick that additional updates would be necessary to the following year. United Shipbuilding Corporation Director General Alexei Rukmanov set a late 2022 debut for the heavy cruiser. The dock's repairs are almost finished. Now all that's left to do is take the ship in for repairs at the mortgage. However, he conceded that a PD-50 dock incident had diverted attention from the second half repairs. It was reported that the ship had docked at the state-of-the-art dry dock operated by JSC Ship Repair Center's Zvezdochka. When the general director was asked a second time about the completion of Admiral Kuznetsov's repairs, he projected 2024. The Russian Navy anticipates utilizing the cruiser for at least another decade after the upgrade significantly boosts its combat effectiveness. We really genuinely appreciate you watching our video. If you enjoyed the Dark Seas and want to learn more about the fascinating historical and military stories from around the world, we encourage you to subscribe and watch the rest of our shadowy documentaries. Please like this video if you like this video and click the bell to be notified of future posts. Stay vigilant.